DreAllDay.com.
Started a mentorship program, and I'm hiring some people who want to work with me. If you didn't know, now you know. Watch the vid for details. What's up, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Welcome to the Q&A. This is Q&A number 63. We do this every week here on this YouTube channel. As I mentioned in the intro, I put out a video earlier this week about a mentorship program and some hiring positions that I've opened up here. Work on your game. If you don't know about those, or you didn't see that video, you don't know what's going on, go to my other channel, which is youtube.com/DreAllDay. youtube.com/DreAllDay. You'll see the videos that explain exactly what I'm looking for and how you can apply for those positions. Now, without further ado, let's get straight into the Q&A. For those who don't know how this works, every single week what I do is go through the questions from the previous week's Q&A. I read the questions out loud that I'm reading right off the computer right now. Then I answer them, and everything that I'm recording as I answer these questions become the next Q&A. So basically the process regenerates itself. So this video that you're watching, Q&A 63, is just going to be me responding to all the comments from Q&A 62. So as long as y'all keep coming with good questions, we'll keep this going. One question, usually we do one question per person, or if you ask more than one question, at least make them somewhat related and put them in the same comment. Don't leave multiple comments, because I'm not going to address more than one comment from the same person. So let's get straight into it without wasting any more time. The first question comes from Mr. Coolman418. He says, Dre, what do you do for a living? Somebody asked me this already. I told you I mind my business for a living. Next question. T2L says, have you ever in your life had a fear of being average and just like everyone else? I wouldn't say I've had a fear of it, but that's something that I don't want to do. So every single day I actively do things that would put me in a position to not be there. So I wouldn't say I fear it, because I think somebody would only fear something that they think is possible that it could happen. I don't think it's possible for that to happen to me, so I don't have a fear of it, but it's something that I don't want. So we'll put it that way. Next question. Michael Patterson says, he says, do you want a family like wife and kids or nah? I don't know. We'll have to see what happens, Michael. Next question. Jay says, do you currently have a girlfriend? Do you plan to ever have children? Well, we're not getting into that as far as the first question. As far as to ever have children, I don't know. We would have to see. That's another one that I have to see. I can't really say if I would or I wouldn't. We just got to see what happens with time and situations. Next question. Jake C says, have you ever done a March Madness bracket? And if so, did I do a March Madness bracket? And if so, who do I have winning? I got into, I think, 2 of them I got involved in with some people that I do business with. And I think I did one on ESPN. But I didn't put no money up for any of them, so I'm not really invested in it. But I did fill out a couple, and I think I picked Kentucky to win in both of the ones that I did, or all 3, however many I did. I think I picked Kentucky on almost all of them, so hopefully Kentucky wins. Next, Rashab Doshi says, you said you have a lot of free basketball quality video, but it's not popular, while other videos that tell people that they can take the game to the next level if they sign up, and when they do, it's pretty much the same stuff that I've shown in my videos. And he says he guesses people don't want the truth. They want to think if they buy something that's going to prove them 100 times over, rather than face the truth and work hard like shown in your videos. Well, I don't know if I agree 100% with all that, Rushab, but as far as what you're saying, I wouldn't say that I'm not popular. It depends on how you define popular, of course, but I think I got a quality number of subscribers, views, whatever you want to call it. But again, popular can be defined by each person however they want to see it. So your definition of popular could deem me unpopular, I guess, if that's what you want to say. But I don't aim to be, as far as how you're defining it, popular. I think I aim to be a mix of, because popular is like something that's like entertaining. At the same time, you want to give people substance. So I like to be a mix of both. I want to be able to entertain you so that you can get some like entertainment value out of this, but at the same time you get some substance, so you take something from what you get in these videos and it actually helps you once you stop watching the video. Because some videos is just entertaining, like if you watch a reality TV show, is entertaining for that 30 minutes or that hour, but as soon as the hour is over, there's nothing that happened on that show that's actually going to get you anywhere. So I want to be a mix of both, so that you can watch it, and it kind of takes you away from whatever is going on in your life for that moment that you're watching. But when it's over, you still remember something that got said that actually will help you moving forward. So I'm a mix of both. Next question. Christopher Carraza says, what do I think about Derrick Rose's injury? I don't really know much about it. I don't even know what the injury was. I know it was something with his knee. I don't know if it was meniscus or something like that. Don't even quote me on that. But I heard that he was supposed to be coming back before the end of the season. So I don't think it's that serious of an injury like the ones he had before where he missed whole seasons and months. I think this one he's only going to miss a month or several weeks. I look forward to him coming back. I think the Bulls have a chance to compete for a title this year with a healthy entire team, not just Rose, but everybody else, Butler as well, and Taj Gibson. Next question. Fresh LB15 says, thanks for the tips for playing. Even though it's cold, it meant the world to me. Now I can work on my game in 30-degree weather with no problem. Well, congratulations, and I'm impressed, because that'd be a challenge for me to work out in 30-degree weather. He says, do I think the Pacers are going to make the playoffs with them on a win streak and Paul George coming back? I think the Pacers can make the playoffs. I think it's going to be close. I think the bottom teams in the East, like the bottom four, was like between Brooklyn, Miami, the Pacers, and Charlotte. I think Charlotte's going to be a team. I don't think Charlotte's going to make it, and I think Brooklyn might or they might not. Actually, it's hard for me to say. Charlotte, some games they look good, some games they look bad. Miami, the exact same thing. Miami has looked bad and had some losses that they shouldn't have had. Like they lost to the Boston Celtics. Again, they definitely should not have lost at home. And Boston's another team that's actually trying to get in there. So I don't even know what the exact picture looks like, but I know it's 4 or 5 teams battling for those spots. I think the Pacers will make the playoffs, even if Paul George doesn't come back. Because I think I heard a Paul George interview where he was saying he don't know if he wants to come back because he don't want to mess up the chemistry. I didn't like hearing him say that, being that he's one of the best players in the NBA when he's healthy. So I hope he does decide to actually get in and come back whenever it is he's cleared and he's physically ready. I think the Pacers will make the playoffs. I'm concerned about the Heat. I think that with Dwayne Wade healthy and playing his normal game that they will win and get in, but they haven't actually played that way all season. So I'm not sure if they're going to do it or not. I think it is possible that they miss the playoffs. I think Boston has been playing excellent, especially when Isaiah Thomas is back and healthy. I think Boston could get in also. So it's going to be a crush between 4 or 5 teams to get those last 2 or 3 spots in the East. But I think whoever makes it, they both going to lose in the first round of the playoffs, because you got Atlanta and Cleveland looking like the top 2 teams. I don't see any of those bottom 4 or 5 teams beating either of them as a road team in the first round. So ostensibly it doesn't matter. A year from now, we're not even going to remember that they made the playoffs. Next question. Andreams10 says, I'm watching your videos for half of a year. Great content. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Andreams. He says he's 15, he's 5'10", he weighs 152 pounds. He lives in Germany. He's a starting point guard on his basketball team. He's not athletic, and he feels like improving that will make him a better scorer and a better player. He's thinking about getting the ultimate athlete, but he's in a dilemma because he doesn't know if he should get the strength and power program, which is called position of power, or the ultimate athlete, which is the off-court training program, which doesn't require weights or equipment, whereas position of power does use weights and equipment. And he says, what would I suggest he do? He says his dream is to become a pro and play in the NBA or at the highest European level. I would suggest for you and anyone else that if you're just getting into strength training and you want to work on your athleticism, you start with the ultimate athlete, because the ultimate athlete, again, requires no weights or equipment. So if you're a beginner as far as training off the court and you haven't done any types of programs, you should start with Ultimate Athlete. It's a 15-week program. It is progressive, which means it takes you from a beginner level to a more advanced level as far as training with your body. You get acquainted with how your body works. You get acquainted with body weight movements, body weight strength exercises, and a whole bunch of other stuff, because the program covers speed, quickness, agility, flexibility, power, strength, core strength, and conditioning. All of that stuff is covered in the program. So you definitely need to start with Ultimate Athlete. Once you're familiar and comfortable with using that program, then you can progress to Position of Power, the strength training program, where you would actually be using equipment and lifting weights and things like that. But first, get your fundamental base with Ultimate Athlete. Next question is John Legs. He says, I love your videos. Thank you, John. He says, my question is, I made cuts. He made the cut on his high school team. Now he's a role player on varsity. How can he lower his opponent's field goal percentage? Next week he has a game and his opponent is really good. Well, John, you don't lower your opponent's field goal percentage. You just, what your aim actually to do is to play good defense so that they don't have good looks at the basket, because the tougher you make their look, then the less probability that they'll make a shot. But it's nothing that you can actually directly do to lower their field goal percentage, because you might play defense what you consider good and they still make the shot. So you can't actually do that. What your aim should be is to play as good defense as possible that you can play to lower their possibility of making a shot. So you would play defense, John. I mean, you made the basketball team, so obviously you know how to play basketball. So I would need to know more specifically what you're asking me, because it's not like I'm explaining to you what defense is. You already know what that is since you tried out for the basketball team and you made it. So you're no dummy. You know how the game works. So ask me something a little bit more specific than how to lower someone's field goal percentage. Next question, George, who says he saw a comment, and he was referring to the comment that the guy had left me on Instagram that I opened with last week about him sending emails for old people. Next question, Keith Dimmich says, can I explain what's in the signature workouts? Well, I would explain it, Keith, except that I actually took out the time to write a whole bunch on every single program. We have 53 of them available right now, and I'm writing another 30 plus right now. And that's all on the hoophandbook.com website. So if you want to know what's in any program, just go to the site, click on any program, and you can read the information that's written that explains what's in every single program. That's why we wrote it, so we don't have to keep saying it over and over again. Next question. Sasukeri asked me, what does in the paint in quotations means? In the paint means in the key. The area of the basketball court is also known as the lane. Is usually the painted area of the floor. Next question, Mateo Carey says, what should I do if the JV coach, if I want the JV coach to train me for next season, but he says that the coach said to him, this is a quote, I don't just train anyone, I only train people who are serious about it. And he said it hurt him a lot that the coach said that to him, and to be honest, it put him down to the point where it's affecting his game. He can honestly say that the coach doesn't like him, and he doesn't want to give up, but he only picks favorites. So, Dre, what should I do? Well, Mateo, first of all, I doubt that the coach dislikes you. The coach probably doesn't even regard you or consider you significant, not meaning that he doesn't think you're a good guy or anything like that. Meaning, when I say he doesn't consider you significant, I mean to say he's probably not even thinking about you. I don't think he dislikes you. I don't think he's even considering you as much as you're considering him. So if you want the coach to take you serious and train you, then the first thing you can do is improve your own performance, improve your own game outside of the coach, because that coach doesn't owe you. And it's something that I've mentioned in many videos before. Nobody, when it comes to the game of basketball, for any of you players out there, I don't care what level you're on, how old you are, where you play at, who you're associated with, nobody owes you anything. Basketball is not something that's owed to anyone. Basketball is an optional game. And the people who work with you, they're working with you because they want to. Even if you pay them, they're doing it because they want to. They don't have to. The only have to in this world is when you're a child. I would say the only have to I would give is that a parent owes you food, clothing, and shelter until the age of maybe 18. After that, nobody owes you anything. Everything else is on you. Now, if nobody gives it to you, it's your job to go get it. And in basketball, nothing in basketball is owed. You're not owed playing time. You're not owed to be on the team. You're not owed attention. You're not owed a chance. You're not owed respect. You're not owed any of that. You earn all of that. What if that coach tomorrow, he just quits and he don't want to coach no more? He don't want to be involved in basketball ever again, Mateo. What are you going to do? Are you just going to quit because he's no longer available to train you? What are you going to do? It's not about what somebody won't do for you. The better question you need to ask yourself, Mateo, and this is something I've talked about in several videos all the time. Instead of making these disempowering statements like this coach won't work with me, or he doesn't consider me serious, or he doesn't like me, all those statements are disempowering and they give your brain nothing to work with. And I was actually just talking to these high school students. I spoke to these high school students yesterday, and I said to them, the words that you use are either going to empower you or disempower you. And you're giving your brain instructions every time you speak. Every time you open your mouth, you're giving instructions to your brain. Or even when you write something down, you type it on a computer or you think something, you're giving your brain instructions, because it's going to do exactly what you said. Your brain is the best assistant that you can ever hire in the world, and you don't even have to pay it. And the reason is this: your brain will do exactly as you tell it. So if you say to yourself, my coach hates me and he'll never work with me, he doesn't take me serious, and I'm feeling terrible about myself, you know what your brain is going to do? It's going to take everything you just said and it's going to deliver you ideas, thoughts, and memories that reinforce everything you told it. So when you say those negative things, your brain is going to reinforce it by giving you more and more stuff that makes it, that aligns with exactly what you said. So if you were, on the other hand, to take some more empowering thoughts and ideas and say, okay, this coach won't work with me, but that's not going to stop me, and I'm going to figure out another way to improve my game. When you say that, now you're giving your brain new instructions. You get, what is the thing you said to your brain? Coach won't work with me, but I'm going to figure out a way to improve my game without him. Now your brain's going to come up with ideas to how to improve your game without help from that particular person. And it's very trite. It sounds very, very simple, right? But guess what? It's 1000% true. And if you ask anyone who's ever thought about it, maybe someone who's older than you, more experienced, they will confirm that this is exactly true. Ask a parent or any other adult you respect or something like that. So what you need to do, Mateo, instead of worrying about who won't help you, is think about what can you do on your own. Let's just say, we don't know if this is true. I don't even know you. But let's just say nobody helps you. Let's say you ask 1 million people to help you and everybody says no. Are you going to use that as an excuse and just never get good at basketball? Are you just going to sit there and be down on yourself and say, nobody will help me, so I guess I'm just destined to never be good at basketball? Or are you going to, on the other hand, say, okay, well, maybe this person didn't want to help me, but I can go ask somebody else to help me. Or I can go work on my game on my own. What's stopping you from working on your game by yourself, Mateo? Why are you putting so much value in this coach's opinion when you could just go practice by yourself? Because I'm 1000% sure whoever this coach is, well, number one, I'm 99% sure he doesn't dislike you. I don't think he even cares about you. And not saying that in a negative way, but just he's not even thinking about you, period. Whether dislike or dislike, he's not even thinking about you, period. So you need to stop giving him so much power in your mind. So what you can do is when you improve your game enough, I guarantee you that that coach or some other coach is going to start taking notice of you when he sees that you can actually play. So my theory, even though I don't know you or him, is that you may just not be that good of a player for him to need to pay you any attention. And if you become a better player, then guess what? All of a sudden, he's going to notice you. All of a sudden, and then he's going to want to work with you. Next question. Vladimir says, what's the toughest thing you come into contact with being a boss or owner? You own your own brand, so I know you have a great deal of insight and experience. Well, Vladimir, that's one thing I'm going to be talking with people in the mentorship groups once I get into that. Again, I already mentioned where you can get that information. The toughest thing you come in contact with, that's a tough question. That's something I would have to think about a little bit, but off the top of my head, I say the number one thing is that you have to be self-disciplined. When you're in a situation where you don't have anybody over you, like telling you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, when to start, when to stop, a person has to be disciplined on their own to know, like, all right, I need to start working at 8 o'clock, or I need to go on break at 12 o'clock, or whatever it is however anyone wants to structure their day, or structure their business, or structure the way that they divide up their time, the way that they use their energy. So self-discipline is definitely number one. And that applies not only to being a business person. If you're talking about somebody who owns a Fortune 500 company, you could also be talking about a basketball player. Because even in basketball, a lot of time for athletes, when you play pro basketball, is a lot of downtime. You're not working 9 to 5 when you play a sport professionally. Your work is maximum probably about 4 hours a day. You got the other 20 hours, let's say you spend 8 sleeping, so that's 12 hours. You basically got 12 hours a day to do whatever the hell you want to do. And that's where self-discipline comes in. Some people run a ride with self-discipline. They do some dumb stuff which can derail their career or derail their personal life. And then other people find constructive things to do. Maybe you could go put in some extra work. You can go do some other things outside of basketball or whatever. But self-discipline, I say, is number one. But that could apply to someone who runs a business or even someone who has an employee situation where they work at a job. It's a good question. Next question. Next question is James Ward. He says, I'm 6'5", I'm a sophomore. In high school, I'm good in the post and in mid-range, but I'm having trouble extending my range to shoot threes consistently. And a lot of people say it's because I'm too tall, and I know that's not true. Can you give me some advice to shoot threes consistently? Well, James, I'm glad you know that's not true, because it absolutely isn't. That's dumb. It wouldn't even make no sense. Why would being tall stop you from shooting threes? So I'm glad you're able to identify that. And he says, can I give him some advice on shooting threes consistently? The first thing, James, is if you're 6'5" and you're a sophomore, you probably need to improve your overall total body strength. So it's not necessary, it's not any one muscle. Sometimes players come to me like, what muscles do I need to work on so I can shoot threes? It doesn't work like that. There's no one muscle that's just going to make you a great three-point shooter. What you have to do is improve your total body strength, because if you watch a video, let's say you watch a slow motion video of someone shooting a jump shot, they're using every part of their body. First of all, you got to jump. So that's the legs, of course. You got your calves involved, your feet, your ankles, your hips, your core. Anytime you jump, your core comes into play, because your core is what keeps your body stabilized when you're up in the air, and also keeps you stabilized when you land. And then, of course, your arms, because you're using your arms to actually shoot the ball. So your overall strength would be number one. So I would suggest the Ultimate Athlete program. Outside of that, on the court, is since you're good at shooting mid-range, I say at the area that you're comfortable at shooting, when we're talking about mid-range, take about a half a step back from that area and start shooting from there. And once you get comfortable there, take another half step back. And then just keep taking a half step, until you're in the range where you want to shoot, which is the three-point range. And you can keep doing that, go further and further. If you just keep taking a half step and get comfortable, not take a half step and shoot 5 times and then say, all right, let me go back even further. No. Get comfortable. The same amount of work you put in to be good at mid-range, put in that same work at mid-range plus a half step. And then get comfortable there, and then go another half step. So this might be months. This might be years of work before you get there. I don't think it's going to take you that long. I think as you grow into your body, your strength will come. But if you can take certain actions, such as doing the Ultimate Athlete program, you'll help to speed that process along. Next question. Mr. Mention 1084 says, how do you deal with coaches that don't seem to trust you in practice or on the court? Well, you don't deal with them, Mr. Mention. What you do is earn their trust. So there's not a problem with them. The problem is there's something in your performance that's causing them to not trust you, right? It's not like they just decided to not trust you arbitrarily. There's a reason that they don't trust you, which has something to do with your performance. So you don't have to deal with them. You have to deal with yourself. And first thing you can do, if you really, really want to know, is go to them and ask them and say, hey, coach, what is it that I need to do to earn your trust on the court or in practice? And they'll tell you straight up. They'll give you the 100% correct answer, and I say correct because they're the one who's determined whether they trust you or not, right? They're the person who answers the question. They're the person who determines it. So they'll tell you, other than you asking them, you can improve your performance in the game. You can ask one of your teammates, like, hey, what are the faults of my game? What can I do to get better? How can I become a better basketball player? You can ask the people around you. Since you're on a team, that means you got at least 10 other guys who see you play every day, not including the coach. So ask them, what can I do? What's wrong with my game? What can I do to get better? And people will tell you. So a lot of you come to me and ask me what you can do to get better, but most of you I've never seen play. So what you can do is ask the people who are around you every single day, how can you get better? Prime example, my first book is called Buy a Game. If you haven't read it, it's free on my website. It's a PDF called dreallday.com/buyagame. BUYAGAME. Now anyway, when I was in 8th grade, the reason I called it that, when I was in 8th grade, one of my friends, a guy named Brandon Abney, actually I'm going to go to Philly this summer. I'm going to meet up with him, and I'm going to try to do an interview with him on YouTube if we can make it happen. And I was talking to him. We was riding back home from like a school trip. We was almost near 8th grade graduation. And I said to him, like, he was the best basketball player in our school. And I said, yo, what do you think I need to do to get better as a basketball player? At the time, I was garbage. I was a bum. He was the best. And we were friends. So I said, what can I do to get better? And he was like, Dre, the first thing you need to do is stop playing basketball scared. Like, when you be playing, you be scared. You nervous. And then the other thing he said was, you need to buy a game. He said, you can't do nothing. All you do is stand in the corner and shoot threes. You can't dribble. You're not even that great of a shooter. You can't pass. You can't guard nobody. You don't grab no rebounds. You can't catch. He's like, you're a bum. He didn't say you're a bum. He said you garbage. And he wasn't saying it in a negative way. He was saying it in a way like for me to actually learn. And that was one of the most important conversations I've ever had in basketball. And it came from me asking someone who saw me play all the time, what can I do to get better? So you had to be open to the constructive criticism, but ask someone who can give it to you, who actually has some who actually knows, someone who actually sees you play, someone you got some trust in, someone you have some rapport with, who will actually tell you the truth, but tell you in a way that's not going to hurt you. And the only way it's not going to hurt you is you had to be open enough and honest enough with yourself to accept it coming from someone whom you know knows the truth. Next question. Harris Kaus says, as a professional player, do you get a pension after you retire? And if you don't, is it worth signing a quote-unquote shitty, he puts in quotation marks, shitty contract your whole career to find out that you won't be able to pay bills in the future? Or is it better to stick with a normal job? Well, first of all, Harris, in the professional basketball, as far as playing overseas, there's not a pension, because a pension plan is usually when you're an employee of a certain organization. And most of the time when a player plays overseas, I would say the majority of the time, the players that I've seen overseas, and I've seen a lot, is that players bounce around. If you look at a player who played overseas, usually they played in several different countries. And each country, each team is a different organization. And these organizations that you play for are businesses. Same way McDonald's is a business, and FedEx is a business, and whoever else. Apple is a business. A basketball team is a business. So when you play for one business for a long time, like if somebody works in a factory for 30 years and they retire, then they might get a pension from that company because they worked there for X amount of time. So when you play overseas and you're bouncing around, no, there's no pension. I don't even know if they do pensions in Europe. I think a pension might just be an American thing, but I may be wrong on that. So don't quote me or take me to task if I'm wrong on that. I think it is, but I'm not sure. So to answer that part, no, there's not a pension when you play overseas. Absolutely not. And he says, is it worth signing some shitty contracts to not be able to pay bills in the future? Is it better to stick with a normal job? Well, your question, first of all, is based on a couple fallacies. First of all, it's based on some fallacies and assumptions. So we had to dissect this. First, when you say, is it worth? I can't determine what's worth anything for you. The second thing, and that's an assumption when you're talking about worth. So I can't determine what you consider worth it or not worth it. Second of all, I also can't determine what you consider to be a shitty contract. When he says the word shitty in quotation marks, I don't know what you consider shitty. What's shitty? Like $1 million? Is that shitty? Is $500,000 shitty? Is $100 shitty? I don't know. So I can't answer that question either. And the third thing is to find out that you won't pay bills in the future. Well, first of all, Harris, think about this. If somebody retires from basketball, who said that they can't do any other type of work for the rest of their lives? It's not like you play basketball and then you just sit at home and count your money for the rest of your life. Most of the time people retire from basketball, they like between 35 and 40, between 30 and 40. You still got another 40 years to live. Nobody just sits home and does nothing for the rest of their life just because they play basketball. People go do other things. Look at all the retired basketball players you know of. They all went and did something else. Michael Jordan went and bought a basketball team. There are people who get into franchising, and people who go and work at jobs, and people who become teachers, coaches, trainers. They start their own businesses that have nothing to do with sports. So it's not like when you retire from basketball, every dollar you made from basketball got to last you for the next 50 years. It doesn't even work like that. So your question is based on a fallacy that doesn't even make sense. And then he says, is it better to stick with a normal job? Now here's another assumption. What do you consider normal? What's a normal job? I could consider a basketball player to be a normal job. Playing basketball is a job because you're being hired by a team. You're an employee of the team when you work there. So I don't know what you consider to be normal. And I also don't know what you consider to be better. What makes a normal job better than playing basketball? Is it the money? Is it the freedom? Is it the opportunity? Is it being at home? Is it having the security of a paycheck every week? And that's the whole other conversation, but working as an employee does not guarantee you a paycheck. I know people think that was the way people thought when I was coming up, when I was in my teens, the age that a lot of you are, but that's actually another fallacy. That's a terrible assumption that people are still making these days, that just because you go work for a company and you get hired that you're guaranteed a check every week. That's absolutely not true. It's actually even scarier that way. Because if you think you're guaranteed to check and then you get laid off, now what? Now you don't have any skills and you don't even know what to do because you haven't developed any skills outside of working for that company who no longer wants you. Now what you going to do? Now how are you going to eat? So you actually in more danger being an employee than you are being a business owner. And being a basketball player, you are an employee, but you're also kind of like an independent contractor because you can get out of the contract whenever you want. You can just leave and go sell your services to somebody else. So it's not the normal quote-unquote way of being an employee, but you are an employee. But that's a good question in one way, Harris, but you're making some terrible assumptions based on some fallacies. You would have to educate yourself a little bit better with your questions. Next question. AMC 2525 says, what's my take on the, another quote unquote he's using, hush hush money that colleges give star basketball players that are coming from high school in order to play for their college? He says, yes, quote unquote, officially, these are quotation marks he's using, not me. He says, officially they get a scholarship, but, all capital letters, if a player got 15 D1 colleges offering him a free ride, you know one of those schools is going to offer a sweetener over and above to one-up the other competing schools. He says, come on, man. You know what happens. Just admit it. Is that a myth or is it reality? Well, AMC, it doesn't have to be a myth or reality. This is similar to the previous question. These are assumptions you're making because you don't know, obviously. If you knew, you wouldn't be asking me if it was a myth or reality, right? Because you don't know. You're making an assumption that just because a big-time high school player goes to a certain college, that it had to be because a college gave them money. Why do you assume that? Let's just say, hypothetically, let's say I'm coming out of high school, right? So I'm coming out of high school and I'm a McDonald's All-American and I got an offer from Duke, North Carolina, and Kansas, and Kentucky. I got 4 offers from those 4 schools and a bunch of others, but I'm considering those 4. Now, you're telling me that if I choose Duke, that means that it had to be because Duke gave me money. That's absolutely false. What if all 4 of the schools say, what if I ask them, what if I come to Coach K and the other 3 coaches, I don't even care what their names are, and I say, hey, I want y'all to give me $100,000 to come to this school. If you don't give me $100,000, I'm not coming. I'm gonna go with whoever does. And all 4 of those coaches, they hear my offer and they get together and they say, you know, Dre told all of us to give him $100,000. So how about all of us say no? So now he just has to pick one. So if none of them offer me $100,000, now what do I do? AMC, what do I do? Just not go to college since nobody offered me the money? So it's not necessarily. You can't assume, first of all, and this is a negative assumption. In America, the assumption is innocent until proven guilty. Now, you're telling me guilty until proven innocent, which is everybody's cheating in order to get a big-time college player. Just because a big-time player, big-time high school player goes to any college doesn't mean he was given money. And where's this money at? So like I said at the beginning, this is an assumption that you're making, and you know that it's not true. You're saying that I know it happens, just admit it. Well, first of all, I don't know it happens, so I can't admit it. I haven't seen anybody being handed any money. I haven't heard out of the mouth of any coach or player that they actually received the money. And again, neither have you, because if you had, then you wouldn't be asking this question, because you would know. You wouldn't have to be posing it as you're posing something that you're a theory that you made up. It's not even a theory. I can't even call this a theory. This is a guess. A theory is based on some actual facts, and you have no facts. So you're just throwing something out there. This is the kind of stuff that ESPN's, what's that show with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith called? This is the kind of stuff that First Take gets their shows made out of, and I don't even watch that show, so that should tell you how I feel about this question. Next question. T-Max says, do I know if track and field in the offseason will make you a better athlete overall? And in quotation marks he puts running, jumping, agility, etc. Well, TP, what do you consider would make you a better athlete? I mean, if you said running, jumping, and agility, so if you think that's going to help, if you think doing track and field is going to improve your running, jumping, and agility, and you think that's what will make you a better athlete, then you should be doing it. I mean, your answer is right there in your question. Next question. Eshwar Tengirala says, did I see Kyrie's 57-point game? He says, the best game he's ever seen in his life. What are my thoughts on it? I did not see that game. I don't know where I was that particular evening. I heard about it, of course, but I didn't see it. I saw some highlights, and I know Kyrie had an excellent game. The guy is just a super talented player. One of the best players, one of my favorite players to watch in the game. Him and LeBron together, actually very fun to watch. So I don't have any thoughts on it because I didn't see it. Next question. Derek Rhodes says, who do I think is better right now? Kyrie Irving, Stephen Curry, or James Harden? Also counting that Kyrie Irving is only 22. Well, I think they're all like 25 and under, so I won't even factor in the age. Who do I think is better right now? That's a tough one. I'll just go by this criteria. If I was putting together a team, which guy would I want to play with? I would have to go with James Harden. I would go with Harden just as I think he scores the easiest. I think his body has held up the best, and I think he creates a lot of easy shots for his teammates who only need to just catch the ball and make shots, whether that be around the basket or three-pointers. Next question. Worm Chemistry says, do you try to show off on the court when bad chicks are watching the game? No, it doesn't happen to me. I played enough basketball in front of enough of a diversity of audiences that wouldn't really affect the way I perform, but I understand how some people would. But the more experience you get, Worm Chemistry, the less that will matter. Next question. Top Notch Sports says, at this point in the season, who do you see coming out of the East and the West in the finals, assuming no major injuries, and who is your MVP? Right now, coming out of the East, I'll go with the Cavs. Coming out of the West, I'm going to go with the Golden State Warriors. I'll see the Cavs against the Warriors in the finals. And MVP right now is Friday afternoon, and so by the time this video comes out, y'all probably already noticed, but James Harden had a 50-point game last night. I'm gonna go with James Harden as MVP, but I wouldn't be surprised if Stephen Curry got it. Westbrook is also in the conversation, and the way he's been playing, he might jump in there. But right now, I think Harden's the MVP. Who do I think is gonna win the MVP? I think Stephen Curry, if he has probably 2 or 3 more big-time performances, i.e. leading Sports Center performances, because we got to remember that this is a very subjective award. I think Stephen Curry will get it, especially if the Warriors win like 65-plus games. I think Curry will get it. But who I think is the MVP is James Harden, because he's carrying a team. He's carried his team all season. Westbrook missed a good chunk of games, so that's going to count against him in my book. Curry has a lot better team around him than James Harden does, in my opinion. So I'll go with James Harden for that reason. Next question. Suraya says he's been working on his game a lot since the offseason, especially his handles and his athleticism. His handles are starting to feel a lot tighter, but he's still not able to get by his defenders, even though he doesn't turn the ball over as much. Do I have tips on faking out defenders, on improving his ability to fake out defenders? Any drills I have, and he put drills in capital letters, which is amusing to me. And he says, on how to work on athleticism, he says he knows that I say just practice jumping and running, but any game-specific athleticism drills do I have for him? He says he bought the jump manual, and that I said that I used, but he didn't really like it because they were generic exercises that he was already doing. And he sent the guy an email about a week later, and the guy didn't respond, even though he promised a free trial. He's not sure if I can help him with this or not. All right, well, first of all, Soraya, you asked me, do I have any drills? You are watching a Q&A video of a guy who has posted more drills for basketball, both on the court and off the court, than everybody else on YouTube put together. No, actually, no, let me not be that extreme. I'll say out of any 10 YouTubers who talk about basketball, and we know it's thousands of them now, you can't even keep up with all of them. You name any 10 YouTubers who do basketball stuff, quote unquote, I posted more content than any 10 you could put in the group put together, on the court and off the court. So you're asking me for drills, I'm really not understanding that. So go to my channel, click on my name right down there, and I'll take you to my channel. Click on the button that says playlists, and then you'll see playlists for driving to the basket. I got over 700 drills for driving to the basket. So you're talking about moves to fake out a defender, there it is. You're talking about drills for off the court athleticism. I have a playlist, Soraya, that is titled athleticism. I have another one that's titled speed and quickness. I have another one that's titled vertical jump. I have another one that's titled core/abs. I have another one that's titled Pilates. I have another one that's titled strength training. And these are all on YouTube. This is not even talking about a program. And then if you want a program, we have hoophandbook.com, which has programs specifically to develop certain areas of your game. So what you're asking me for is something that I've already done. Maybe you just didn't know about it, so now you know about it. So now you're responsible for taking advantage of that information. As far as the jump manual, Jacob's only one person. I don't know what his structure is as far as his customer service, but I know he is inundated with emails. I think he will eventually get back to you. I do not own nor do I work for Jump Manual, so I can't do anything about that part, you would have to wait for his email response, but he will get back to you, and he's a good guy. So whatever it is going to satisfy you as his customer, he's going to make sure you're taken care of. Next question. Cole Rhea says, Dre, I'm 5'11", I'm a junior in high school. The last 3 years I got cut, and I'm playing in YMCA. I'm starting at point guard. He is starting to believe that he won't be able to play next year for his school, but his ultimate goal is to play JUCO, and he's way behind. What does he need to do to get to that level? JUCO, that is. He feels like he's good enough to play in high school, but he doesn't know if the coaches will give him a chance. How do I get better in 2 years in order to play JUCO? Any reply will be appreciated. Oh, well, Cole, first of all, I think you need to get some new information in your mind. JUCO is short for junior college, which I'm sure most of you know, but maybe some people don't. JUCO is a junior college. The reason people go to junior college as far as athletics go is because their academics are not in order. A player doesn't go to JUCO because they need to get better as a player. They go because their academics need to improve. So you shouldn't be planning to play in JUCO. You're a junior in high school, so if your academics are in order, you should be going to a 4-year university immediately. You don't need to go to a junior college or a community college or nothing like that. You go to a 4-year university where you can get, academically, you can get a degree. As far as, he said he got cut for the last 3 years, and you're starting to believe you won't be able to play next year because you're way behind. Well, what are you behind, Cole? I don't understand what parts you're behind on. I don't see you being behind on anything. I mean, nothing's stopping you from going to college. You're a junior, so you're not graduated from high school yet. So you're not behind in anything. I think you're right on schedule to go to college, whether that be playing sports or not playing sports. The JUCO part, you got to get out of your mind. Why don't you just go to a regular school, a 4-year school? Let me not say regular, that would be incorrect. A 4-year university. And then he says, what do I need to do to get to that level? Well, you already know what you need to do, Cole, because you already mentioned it. You need to improve your performance. You improve your performance, you get to the level that you can actually make a team, and then wherever you go, you try out for the team, or maybe you get invited, maybe you get a scholarship, depending on your performance between now and when you begin college, and then you get on the basketball team. You already know what you need to do. So that question we don't even need to get into. You know what you need to do. You need to improve, and then you need to prove that you've improved when it's time to prove it. And his question is, he says he feels like he's good enough to play in high school, but he doesn't know if the coaches will give him a chance. Well, let's just call that what it is, Cole. That's bullshit. The coaches won't give you a chance. Well, you got cut because you didn't perform at a high enough level when it mattered. So it's not about the coach giving you a chance. Nobody gives you a chance. And I mentioned this earlier in the video. Nobody owes you anything when you play basketball. There's nothing owed to you in the game of basketball. Nothing. Nothing at all is owed to you. So nobody has to give you a chance. So it's not about the coaches giving you a chance. So you're actually right. Maybe nobody ever will give you a chance. But guess what? You can create a chance. You can take a chance by improving your game and then going to tryouts your last year and proving that you actually have some game. So it's not about anybody giving you anything, because nobody owes you. So if nobody gives it to you, guess what? Nobody cares. Nobody's gonna protest on your behalf because nobody gave you a chance. You got to go create it by proving your game when it matters. Next question. You'll deal the Spang. I know I didn't get that name right, but he probably knows who it is. He says, Dre, great Q&A. I read in one of your programs that by putting in work, I'll be doing these moves without premeditation. And he says, is there a such thing as overthinking in basketball? Absolutely, there's a such thing as overthinking, which kind of relates to exactly what you said. When you're playing in the game moves so quickly, you don't have time to actually think. You can't come down the court and think like, all right, I'm gonna try this move. Maybe you could do that once or twice. In the heat of a game that's going back and forth, you don't have time to think about a move or to like try to recall the move you was working on 3 days ago, or the move you got out such and such program, and a move you watched on YouTube. You just got to be able to respond and react in the moment. So yes, there is a such thing as overthinking in basketball, which is the reason why with those programs you work on the things enough, you start doing it without thinking, which is the instinctive part of the game, which is what you need, which is the players that you like watching on TV or on YouTube. That's how they're reacting instinctively. They're not thinking, they're just reacting. Next. Awesome for life. says, how do you shoot a proper fadeaway? Do you have to be a 2-motion shooter? Because on my fadeaway is really bad, but my shot form is good. Also, I'm a 1-motion shooter. All right, well, first of all, awesome for life. I don't know what you mean by a 2-motion shooter or 1-motion shooter. I'm not really concerned with that as far as shooting techniques. It's not my expertise, and I don't even really care. All I care about is did the shot go in or did it not. As far as shooting a proper fadeaway, there's no such thing as a proper fadeaway. The only thing proper about any type of shot in basketball is that it goes in. It's proper if it went in. If it doesn't go in, then it's not proper. I don't care who taught you. I don't care who you got it from. I don't care what they said or what books they wrote or how many videos they posted on YouTube. If it didn't go in, it's not proper, period. I do have a tutorial here on my channel on how to shoot the fadeaway turnaround jump shot. So all you got to do is look up that video and you'll see it. So you can see my tutorial on shooting that turnaround. It's not about you doing it exactly as I do it. It's about you absorbing the ideas, the things that I'm sharing about maybe giving that defender a shoulder fake one way and then turning the other way, making sure your footwork is correct because you don't want to move that pivot foot, which would be a violation. That's what I mean by correct. Not correct as in it has to look a certain way, but correct as in your footwork. You can't move the pivot foot because otherwise a violation, and even if you make it, the shot wouldn't count because it'd be a travel. So there is no proper. And as far as the motions, I'm not the person to talk to about that. Sorry. Next question. Michael Jordan, the GOAT, says, can I make a Victor Oladipo and Andrew Wiggins signature handbook? Well, Andrew Wiggins is coming in the next batch. Oladipo, I don't think is in this batch, but he'll probably be in the next one. Next question. KB the Titan, the God. KB Titan, the God, says, out of these three, who's my favorite comedian? Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence, and Chris Tucker. I'll go with Martin. Wade Harris says, Dre, if you had to pick a point guard that you would want to play with, who would you pick out of Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Kyrie, Russell Westbrook, or Dame, and why? I would go with Chris Paul. I just think he's the best as far as playing a point guard position. Let's just say I'm playing a shooting guard, he's playing a point guard. I'll go with Chris Paul. I think he is the most competitive. I think he is... Well, they're all competitive. I think he's the most competitive. I think he controls the ball the most. He is a ball dominant point guard. He's a guy who's going to dribble the ball around for damn near an entire possession sometimes. But Chris Paul is a guy who will make the perfect pass. He's the kind of guy that when you're open, the ball is going to be there right on time and right in the right spot every single time. And I watch him play and I can tell that these other guys, there's sometimes with that, not all the time. He's a guy that is always going to be on time perfectly. I like watching all of them, but I would go with Chris Paul. Roko Lonic says, I'm 6'3", 14 years old from Croatia. I started playing ball a year ago. I play center and power forward. I'm strong. I have a good post game. I can finish with my left hand and my right hand. His problem is when he plays one-on-one and they don't give him contact, he gets his shot blocked a lot. So what can he do to fix that? How can he protect the ball? Well, Rocco, getting your shot blocked and protecting the ball is two different things. So getting your shot blocked means you're already shooting it. So the ball was protected up to the point where you shot it. You just got it blocked. So it's not like you got it stolen from you. So it's two different ideas there based on what you're saying. And the question he asked, what can he do to fix getting your shot blocked? Well, you don't fix getting your shot blocked. What you do is improve at getting your shot off. It's just a different play in words. And again, some of you might think that doesn't matter, but it absolutely does matter. So you don't want to avoid the negative. What you want to do is accentuate the positive. So instead of saying, how can I avoid this negative thing happening? The better thing to say is, instead of saying it that way, say, how can I accentuate the positive thing? So not avoid getting blocked. It's get better at getting the shot off. So what you can do, Rocco, is go to my post moves playlist at the playlist that I mentioned earlier in this video on my YouTube channel, and I have about 100, maybe more, post videos, post drills, post moves drills going left and right side, left shoulder, left hand, right hand for getting your shots. And I also have videos, if you watch my one-on-one videos, to see how I get my shots off in post situations. And it might not, of course, the defenders and the people and me are different from the defenders you play against and you, but the techniques are the things that you need to take from it. Not exactly what I did, but the techniques. The techniques are what you can add to your game. And of course, game experience. I mean, if you're getting your shots blocked, you're just gonna have to keep playing. Eventually, you're gonna stop getting them blocked because you're gonna keep making adjustments. Next question. Johnny Football says, what are your thoughts on the 10,000 hour thing? Should I do it? Well, I don't know what the 10,000 hour thing is. So if you tell me what that is, then I might be able to give you a better answer. The walking cash register says, Dre, I need some advice because I want to start playing basketball again when the school year ends. I'm not in the best shape. I get really tired when I jog up the court and it feels like my stomach is empty and I could throw up if I keep playing hard. What are some good ways to get in shape so I don't get tired easily? And what should I do to keep my hands from getting sweaty? And as far as your hands getting sweaty, I mean, that's going to happen. If you're sweating a lot, your hands are going to get sweaty. Some people have said they use the arm sleeve to keep the sweat off their hands. I've worn an arm sleeve to do that, but it doesn't necessarily happen because there are sweat glands even here. So if the arm sleeve is covering from here to here, the sweat glands right here is still going to produce sweat. So that's not necessarily true, but it might work for you. You could try some powder. What is that stuff called? If I remember while I'm answering this question, I'll tell you the name of the powder. But there's powder, if you watch basketball games, like when LeBron does the toss, that powder, that chalk is supposed to keep your hands dry. I've tried that also. It doesn't necessarily work either. I say you just have to, what's the word I'm looking for here? Resign yourself to having to dry your hands off on your uniform, on your clothes, or have a towel with you on the sideline. It's gonna, if you sweat, you're just gonna sweat. I mean, sweat is a part of the game. People sweat, you dry your hands off, you keep going. As far as his other question, he says, what are some good ways to get in shape? Go to my conditioning playlist here on my channel and do everything you see on there. If you want a program that kind of structures how to do the conditioning, I got a conditioning mini program, Hoop Handbook, hoophandbook.com. Yahia Solomon says, did I go to Nike Summer Series? If yes, did you get free gear? Well, I got a playlist on my channel, Yahia, called Summer Series, so you can watch it and you'll get your answer. Next question. John Smith says, calling someone nice or trash in basketball a relative term? Of course, this is an opinion. Next, I'm True Skill says, Dre, can you get better at basketball playing against better players without practicing versus playing with bums and practicing all the time? I believe you can get better in many different ways. Different people learn differently. So some people learn better by playing against people who are better than them and they adapt. And some people learn better by just practicing on their own. And some people learn equally as well either way. I think a combination, I mean, playing against bums is not really going to help you because it's not going to push you because you don't have a challenge, because you don't have to exert yourself to beat them, because even if you play at 80% of your capacity, you're still going to win because you're way better than them. So I don't think that makes you better, but I think practicing and playing with and against players who are at your level or higher do both make you better. Next, YellNats1234 says, what's the most stressful situation you've had in your life and how did you overcome it? I don't know about that one. I'll have to think hardly about that one. As far as basketball goes, probably when I got cut as a junior. I overcame it by just deciding to give it another shot. Next, R3N1 says, after watching your Q&As with other YouTubers, he said he heard Big Brandon Carter, who's a guy I did a Q&A with maybe 2 years ago. He said, Big Brandon Carter said that you need to lift heavy to be successful. And he wants to know my take on it, since I had a lot of muscle on me before, but I look a lot skinnier now. Am I still keeping up with the 10,000 hours videos, and how do I like them? In addition to this question. As far as the 10,000 hours videos, no, I'm not. I don't watch anybody on YouTube, actually, to tell you the truth. So no, I don't keep up with any 10,000 hours videos. As far as the Big Brandon Carter thing, all right, well, here's another question that's based on some assumptions and fallacies. So let's address this. Let's dissect this question. He said he heard Big Brandon Carter say that you need to lift heavy to be successful. First of all, he didn't say, that's not exactly what he said. Now, being successful is one of those relative words. How do you define success? Now, one person might say, is it possible, and I'll ask any of you this, is open-ended question, is it possible that somebody could say losing weight is success? Are there people in the world who, if they lost weight, that would be success? Yes. Are there people in the world who, if they gained weight in the form of muscle, that would be success? Yes. So there is no one way to define successful. Now, his second thing he said I had a lot of muscle, but I look a lot skinnier now. I don't think I got any skinnier. I think I'm about the same size. If my weight fluctuated, it wasn't by any more than maybe 5 to 6 pounds. So no, I'm not a lot skinnier now. I think maybe it just might be the clothing I was wearing might have made it look skinnier. Maybe with the shirt I'm wearing now, you can see my physique a little bit differently, but no, I haven't lost much weight. If I lost any, I don't think I've lost any at all. As far as Big Brandon Carter, when we address this, Big Brandon Carter is not a basketball player. Big Brandon Carter is, as far as I know him, to be a strength trainer, a fitness trainer, a personal trainer, fitness coach. He's not training to play basketball. I play basketball, and I'm assuming that you play basketball, R3M1, since you're asking this question. So the way he would train, what he was talking about when I asked him these questions are about if you want to put on muscle mass. If you want to add mass to your body in the form of muscle, then yes, you lift heavy to get that. If adding mass to your body in the form of muscle is how you define success, then yes, lifting heavy is what will get you success. But for basketball, that's not necessarily the thing that you always need to do. Because a basketball player, if you just keep putting on muscle mass, what you're going to eventually have is a body that's so bulky you won't have full range of motion as far as raising your arms up above your head, about reaching your arms out to the sides, about moving your hips, about moving your feet, and being able to move quickly. Too much bulk at some point is going to eventually slow you down. So you have to take any piece of information that you get and consider the source of the information. Because if you're a basketball player, let's just take another extreme. If you're a marathon runner and you watch a video from somebody who's a bodybuilder, yes, the things that they're saying make sense for bodybuilders, but doesn't make sense for you. So when you get information from someone, you have to consider that information. Even from me, does this information apply to what your goals are? So if you want to learn how to get strong and in shape to play basketball, then you should probably get the information from someone who plays basketball. If you're getting it from someone who's a strength trainer, then understand they're probably going to be conditioning you to be in the shape that a strength trainer would be in, someone who's trying to put on muscle mass. So muscle mass is not necessarily the goal, success for a basketball player. So you have to consider that. You have to weigh those things. It doesn't mean that he's wrong. It just means that what he's doing is not what I'm doing. It's two different things. We just happen to be doing a video together because I think Big Brandon Carter is he's a good guy. I think a lot of our views, philosophies on life, the mentality of things, we matched a lot on that, which is one reason why I wanted to do a video on him, and I like the stuff that he puts out. So it wasn't necessarily about, oh, you need to do what this guy says to be good at basketball. If you want to be a basketball player, you probably need to listen to me more than you will listen to him because he don't play basketball. If you want to put on muscle mass, you should listen to him because that's what he does. Next question. Crazy Handle says, of all the teams you played on, which one do you think you were playing your best basketball? I think I was playing my best on all of them. There wasn't any team where I wasn't playing well. I was playing good on every team I've ever played on. Post moves. Last question says, have you ever been asked to do something that you aren't comfortable with on a basketball court by a coach? He said he likes to post up, but his coach thinks I should bring the ball up the court in games, but I'm not comfortable with it. I feel like I would turn the ball over a lot. Since he told me this, I have worked on my handle, but I still don't think I should be bringing the ball up. What should I tell my coach? Well, post moves, if you don't feel comfortable, then you should probably tell him that you're not comfortable and he'll get someone else to do that job. But at the same time, you should also consider that when you're in a position as you are and the person who's in charge, such as the coach, such as if you're talking about someone working in an office and the boss comes to you and says, hey, I want to give you this responsibility, and you say, hey, I'm not ready for this responsibility, I don't want this responsibility, I don't feel I'm good enough for this responsibility, you are putting yourself at risk for never being asked or given an opportunity again. Because if I'm in charge of something, let's say I'm running an office and I come to one of my employees and in a pinch and I'm like, all right, hey, I need you to run this department. I need you to take over. I need you to be a leader and get it done. And they say, hey, Dre, I can't do it. I'm not ready. I don't feel like I'm good enough. I feel like I'm going to mess it up. I'm not going to force them to do it. I'm going to say, okay. And that person, I'm never going to ask them to do anything again. Because that one opportunity that I gave them, they weren't ready. They didn't want it. And for whatever reason, they had this self-defeat talk. Like, I don't think I'm ready. I feel like I'm going to mess up the same way you're talking post moves. I'm never asking that person to do anything again. I might not fire them. I'm going to leave them right in that position where they are, right where they're comfortable in their little comfort zone bubble. And they're going to stay there for as long as they work or until they quit or until they die, whichever one happens first. But I'm never putting them in another position of possible leadership again, because when I gave them one, they didn't want it. So even if post moves you think you might turn the ball over, even if you think you're uncomfortable, even if you think your handle's not that good, you should consider this. Why did the coach ask you? Of all the players on the team, why does he want you to bring the ball up? Is it possible that you're the best ball handler on the team? Is it possible that you're the one he trusts the most? Understand that if you turn down this opportunity, you might not be the guy he trusts anymore. You might go from the most trusted to the least trusted, because when he offered you some responsibility, you turned it down. So my advice to you post moves is don't tell your coach anything. You should say, Coach, I'm going to do my best. Thank you for the opportunity, and you go do it. Now, if you mess up and the coach sees that you're not really capable, then he'll take you off it. But I think he'll at least have a respect for you that says, okay, at least he gave it a shot. But if you go to him and beg off for the leadership opportunity, then you'll never get another leadership opportunity on that team again in your life. So I say my advice to you is take the opportunity. If you mess up, you mess up. But you can't beg off of a leadership opportunity, because you will not get another chance. That's it, everyone. Thank you for the questions this week. Y'all coming through with quality questions. I'm impressed, and I'm thankful that y'all have been coming through with these. So let's keep this going. Q&A. This is Q&A 63. So leave your comments in the comments, your questions in the comments of this video, and we'll get to those next week. Q&A 64. Work on your fucking game. DreAllDay.com. Checking out this video. Make sure you follow all my top content up here. Follow me on all your favorite social networks right over here, and make sure you are subscribed to catch all the new content I put on this channel every single day. Work on your game.